What's up, friends? So from time to time, I will order a book or two from eBay and or some other auction site. And what ends up happening is the seller, they have pretty good feedback. It seems like people are liking the packaging and things like that. And I always check the seller feedback before purchasing and obviously inspecting the photos. But what ends up happening is some of those things are misleading. They don't exactly express to you that the seller is going to send a package in one of these bubble mailers, and usually the books are wrapped in a bubble mailer as well. But it's dangerous, or sandwiched between two makeshift, USPS cutout recycled cardboard. And what ends up happening is this is dangerous because for any of you eBay sellers, flippers, whatever, you guys, please don't ever just use these two flimsy cardboard. The likelihood of someone like me buying a high-end book from you has just gone down the drain if I see that you use this and send a book out to me that I paid $100 for or something like that. Okay, there's no way I'm spending $200, $300, $500 on a book from you if I know that you're sending the book in something like this. There's a time and place for something like this, but it's certainly not for comic books or magazines or anything like that. And I can't tell you how many times I've actually had this happen from multiple sellers, and it's extremely frustrating. So if you are a reseller of comic books or magazines or books in general, please do not send them in a bubble mailer like this. Put them in a Gemini board or a Gemini box, something like this in the very least. Okay. And another thing, another pet peeve, you guys, if you're a seller and you're sending a Gemini mailer, even in a Gemini, and you can't tape well, and the book is exposed, I'm probably not going to buy from you as well, okay, in the future. So that being said, you guys, here's what I do as soon as I receive something from an auction, and the way I inspect it, step by step. So bottom line is that this book arrived in something like that. And that book happens to be Legion of Monsters and magazine. And I noticed first and foremost something I didn't pick up in the eBay photos is right here on the very bottom corner. There's a little chip, which I was a little bit disappointed to see because I paid a little bit of more than I probably would for a book like this, and I didn't see that because the way that the seller posted the photo, this bottom area was not there entirely. This little corner was very tough to see in the photo, and I should have asked for an additional photo, and that's my fault. That's on me. So learning lesson, you guys, if you're buying something on auction or buy it now or whatever it is from any seller, make sure that you ask for additional photos. And normally I do that, and I just didn't on this one. I decided to go with it. Seller had 100% positive feedback, etc. I could still return this if I really want to, but chances are I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and keep it. And it's not worth the hassle for me. So anyway, the other thing I noticed is something I missed in the photos, and I did inspect the photos, I thought pretty well, is there's a little bit of a crease, a very, very tiny, very minuscule one, but that'll knock it out a point if I'm getting this graded, which I'm not. I just wanted this because I wanted to flip through it, and this is sort of a reader copy for me. That being said, I still like to get nice looking reader copies, right? So the way this arrived is in probably, I'm going to estimate that this, you can see the wrinkling on the actual bag. I could probably say that this book has been in this bag and board based on the color of the board as well as the bag, probably for a few years. I'm going to say probably 3 to 5 years. And it's just been sitting in storage, and this seller decided to sell it now. But you can see the wrinkling all over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and by the way, also another pet peeve of mine is when I get a book that I paid a pretty decent amount for and it's still in an old bag and board. eBay sellers, Mercari sellers, whatever, you're selling magazines or comics, please put something that's over 50 bucks or whatever on in a brand new bag and board. That's the very least you can do, especially if you're charging $10 for shipping. All right. Also, I hate Scotch tape. Use blue tape instead, okay? There's blue tape that can be cut, and it's a lot easier to peel off without destroying the actual bag itself. But let's go ahead and open this up. This is the next thing I do is I look at the book from the outside in the bag just to see if I missed anything, you know, horrendous. This one looks okay. I'm going to go ahead and remove it from the bag and board. And one of the things I like to do first thing, besides inspecting the actual cover itself, which looks really good, and the spine looks intact, the staples look fantastic, no rust on the staples. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the cover real quick, and I'm going to look at how bad the crease is. And it's not too bad. It hasn't torn through or anything like that, so we're okay. And this is going to be a fine reader for me. And then I'm going to go ahead and check the corners, make sure they're okay. This little corner, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a little chip right there. Okay, no big deal. Again, it's a reader, and I got it at a pretty decent price. The next thing I do is I check the back. And let me tell you why I inspect the back cover really in depth. It's because I've actually seen sellers play something with really good images, and come to find out, they send it in the board, I open it up, and there's a crease at the very bottom because for whatever reason, they photographed that book or they scanned it prior to someone else handling it, maybe switching it out into a bag and board, and then the corner is creased because someone put it in the bag and board incorrectly. I've had to return a book because of that, because I paid a premium price for it because it was advertised as being near mint, and certainly if you get something with a crease in the corner, it's not near mint, right? So I'm really easygoing, you guys, when I buy books. You know, I pretty much communicate with the seller and all that stuff. But if I get something that is completely not as described, I send it back. I have no issues with that. And I explain I'm very polite, and the seller understands, you know, for the most part. The other thing I do is I inspect the interior of the covers, right? The interior back cover, interior front cover, and then what I do is I go through every single page of the book to make sure everything's intact. There are no loose pages. The colors of the pages are solid. They're not, you know, if someone advertises white pages, I want to see if they're white pages. And if they're off-white or cream, I'm going to probably say something about it. So this book looks really nice, and it's just an easy flip right through it. And just love the artwork of this book, by the way. Nice Bronze Age horror artwork and things like that. And take a look at this. Monster Gallery. Now that's a cool page right there. And the other thing I do is make sure that there isn't any writing in the comic book or the magazine. And there aren't any type of like irregularities, obviously. So I flip it to the center where the staples are. I make sure to inspect the staples, make sure they're not rusty on the inside. You guys, I've seen some really interesting stuff come in from you know, resellers. And I'm not blaming any particular reseller or anything like that. I'm not saying that resellers have some nefarious thing where they're just trying to offload one book that they advertise and send you a different one or something like that, you know, which has happened before. But the thing is sometimes the person who's listing it may not be the person who's packaging it, and something happens along the way, right? And just go on YouTube, look up a video on resellers that resell comic books or baseball cards or whatever it is. There's usually someone else who's helping them repackage something, especially if they're a larger reseller. So always look at this stuff very closely. Now, after I've inspected the book and everything, I replace the bag and board, especially if it comes like this and it's not new. This is crap. I would never leave a book in that in my collection, okay? And so make sure that you replace the bag and board, and that way your book is now refreshed, renewed. Another thing I do is I smell the book. If it smells like, I almost forgot about this, if it smells like cigarettes or something strange, I've actually had that happen to me. I write the seller and I say, hey, this book stinks, or whatever it is that they sent me, and I will not keep that book in my collection. I just refuse to. So also do a sniff test. Yeah, I'm kind of weird like that, right? I'll open up a book and I'll just be like, take a deep breath. And if it smells like vintage, just happiness. Oh, look what I just found while talking to you guys and doing a sniff test. So there's a page here, page 71, is slight crease in it. Nothing crazy, nothing that is super bad. You can see it right there, right? right over here. There's a little bit of a crease. But if I were to send this for grading, someone's going to knock that. Okay, I would. And certainly the other thing I want to tell you after I do the sniff test and before I bag and board it, actually, I'll make a quick note of any abnormalities in the book. Like I'll note that page on page 71. In the future, if I decide I want to offload this book, I want to know right away what's up with it. I don't want to wait and have to open it back up, etc., because it's already going to be, I'm already going to rescan it. I'm already going to photograph it and add it to my archive, bag and board it, fresh bag and board. And so I want to know if there's anything peculiar about this book that I need to know about for the future in case I need to trade it or offload it or whatever it is. And then all I do is I note it on the back of the board on a sticky note or something like that. That way I can look at it really quickly. The other thing I do as soon as I receive a book, whether it's a magazine or a comic book, I will go ahead and go into my Excel sheet and I'll log how much I paid for the book, right? And which issue it is and all that stuff. That way I have a tracking of that. And if I decide to trade it down the line or if I'm offloading the book or if I'm getting it graded, I know how much I've put into the book and how much I'm going to be getting back and if that makes sense. And then finally, after I've done that and logged everything on the book, I go ahead and leave feedback for the seller, right? And what I try to do is if I have neutral feedback or I almost rarely ever leave negative feedback. I'll be honest. I usually will communicate with the seller and I'll just say, here's the issue. I've had this actually happen recently with I bought this other magazine. It was 1989, Cracked, I think, or something like that. And it was like Mike Tyson on the cover. And I messaged the seller and I looked at the back of the cover and it was actually torn on the back. In fact, I might have it. Give me a second. Okay, so here it is, you guys. National Lampoon. And this is a February 1989. This has the Mike Tyson cover on it. And it was advertised as near mint. And as you can see right away, it is not near mint when I received it. And guess what? When I got this book, it was sandwiched between two exact copies of recycled USPS cardboard, really flimsy, and in a manila envelope, you guys. I actually have the manila envelope here sitting on my desk, on my other desk. And then come to find out, I flip it over and take a look at this. It's got two tears right over here that were not mentioned, that were not described. So I wrote the seller and I said, hey, which, the book is really cool. It still has the original business reply mail, National Lampoon, although it is torn out in here. And I wrote the seller and I just said, hey, this is the issue. I don't think I want to keep the book. The seller wrote me back and said, hey, what if I give you 50% off of what you paid? And we worked it out and we got it taken care of. So here's what I do. I don't go back in there and leave the guy a negative review. We've worked it out. We're good. Okay. However, it doesn't mean I'm going to leave him a positive review, right? So I could leave a neutral review, but for the most part, I just let those things slide. I want to make sure that I have a good relationship with sellers. And basically, I just don't leave a review at all. And I think that that's the best practice, to be honest with you. So I kept the book. I got 50% off of it. Obviously not near mint. This is going to be a reader copy. I'm probably going to pick another one of these up that's in much nicer condition just for my own peace of mind because I like my books to be high-end quality condition. And, that's just how I treat everyone. I want to treat them respectfully, make sure that I communicate with them. I also want to tell you, I am not afraid to let the seller know that they should have packaged it a different way. For example, I stated to the seller, I said, hey, I'm really disappointed that, I paid you this much for this book and in shipping and handling. And this arrived in a manila envelope sandwiched between two flimsy cardboard USPS recycled boards. At the very least, put it in a Gemini box or sandwich it with thicker board and something larger, not manila. Put it in or package it in a recycled Amazon box with wrapping around it. That's the least you can do if I'm paying $30, just an example for a comic or anything. But that being said, I expect in the very least, if I'm paying $20 to $30 for a book plus another $7 or $8 for shipping and handling, to be packaged well when it arrives. So that being said, it's okay. It's a reader. We worked it out. And I'm just going to be I'm gonna take the positive approach on all this and give the seller the benefit of the doubt. Now, I do purchase from the same sellers occasionally, and those are folks that I actually log into my system and I go, hey, I've purchased before from this individual or organization, whatever it is, and that helps me keep good track of who is a quality seller and where I get good books or whatever vintage items. I can trust those folks to package really well and describe whatever it is that I'm buying from them, whether it's toys or books or whatever it is, really well, and I can trust that when it arrives. All right, you guys, I hope this video was helpful. A little longer than I anticipated, but let me know in the comments below if you feel the same way, if you have the same sort of systems as far as receiving a book when you purchase it from online, and if there's anything that you would add to it. All right, and I hope this video was helpful for any of you collectors out there, whether you're a noob collector or whether you're a seasoned collector, and would love to get your feedback. Please remember, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay rad.